The third part in the Boomer Black Sheep My PID Journey series, which covered the topic of Paul McCartney doubles and their different chins, was well received by the channel's very kind and like-minded subscribers and viewers, for which I'm very grateful. As a follow-up, this video examines the Orthodox Paul is dead theory by setting aside the doubles and simply focusing on the Paul McCartney who had the scar under his chin through the Beatles' heyday and beyond. This video uses vintage and more modern photographs to determine whether the orthodox one real Paul versus one imposter Billy Paul is dead theory stands up to scrutiny. So please join me in following the journey of Paul's scar on the chin. The scar on the underside of Paul's chin was there since 1963, back when the Fab Four were wearing those collarless suits. It's just that most people didn't see it. But look closer and zoom into those old photographs and you'll see the almost horizontal line of the scar, which makes his square-shaped chin appear asymmetrical and a bit lopsided. The scar can clearly be seen on the photograph of Paul when he made the front page of the Daily Mirror on the 13th of November 1963, following his collapse in the dressing room during the Beatles' autumn tour that year. It should be noted that there are still some who argue that this is not a scar but a shadow. But that's a hell of a deep shadow if you ask me. Oh, and by the way, this photo was taken 2 years before the Boxing Day moped accident, so the scarring doesn't come from that incident. There are other photos taken from a similar angle to the Daily Mirror one that show the scar reasonably clearly, but there is a limit to how far you can zoom into old photos. But that dark line under Paul's chin is still to be seen by those who can view things objectively. Paul's scar under his chin could still be seen in January 1964, when it appeared in photographs of the band wearing different hats in the number 6 edition of the Beatles' official fanzine, Beatles Book Monthly. I've included the front cover of that Beatles Book Monthly and the page number where Paul is featured wearing a deerstalker hat, so that people can look up the official document for themselves, and to nip any claims of photoshopping in the bud. Photoshopping is the favourite chant of Facebook PIDers to discredit photos they refuse to accept. And yes, it's Paul McCartney with a scar on his chin singing I Want to Hold Your Hand on the historic Ed Sullivan Show on the 9th of February 1964. You should be getting the hang at spotting that horizontal indentation the scar has left on Paul's chin by now. And no, it's not a cleft or a chin dimple. They are vertical and positioned centrally, remember? For anyone wondering if the Paul McCartney with the scar under his chin could play live, the answer is yes. Here he is on stage during the Beatles' German Bravo Blitz tournée in June 1966. So, to recap, we've got a photograph of Paul with a scar under his chin taken in 1963 that appeared on the front page of a British national newspaper, and a photograph taken of him performing live on stage in Germany in 1966. And another one from before 1966. Oh dear, there's a photo of the person they call Billy, looking very much the same also with a scar under his chin. Was that a one-off fluke photograph of what looks like a scar? And I just got lucky? No, luck had nothing to do with it, because here's that Billy person again, or should I call him Paul, complete with the scar under his chin. Note there's no moped accident scar on his upper lip. Are there any more photographs showing a scar on the chin of that person the PID has called Billy? Oh yes. See, he's not difficult to find when you are aware of the scar's existence, once you start looking. With all those photographs of the person the PID has called Billy, who has an identical scar to the 1960s Paul McCartney, the One Paul, One Billy Orthodox Paul is dead conspiracy theory is starting to look a bit shaky. In fact, the mainstream Beatles fans' argument that there has always been just the one Paul McCartney, and he was there from the group's 60s heyday and beyond, is starting to look valid, judging by the photographs shown in this presentation. Those who support the McCartney doubles theory could argue that the McCartney with the scar under his chin is just one of several doubles, and he is one of several who crossed the alleged September 1966 timeline and into the so-called Billy era. Some may go further and add that the One Paul, One Billy Orthodox Paul is dead conspiracy is actually a distraction from the Beatles' psychological operation, and that it is the doubles who hold the key to the Beatles' mystery, and as such are deserving of further serious investigation rather than being dismissed. From what I can see, I've come to the conclusion that not every Paul is dead, or died in September 1966. Certainly not the Paul McCartney with the scar under his chin. But I'm a black sheep when it comes to PID conspiracy orthodoxy, yet photographic evidence and logic are not enough to convince the orthodox Paul is dead conspiracists. That much I do know. As the saying goes, there are none so blind as those who will not see, which tells me there is as much, if not more, manipulation going on in the Paul is dead conspiracy world than in the mainstream.